Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire, who I really appreciate Michael Knowles because he doesn't come off to me the way he feels to me more cultural and socially interested than he does the normal political slap fights that I participate in. I just feel like when Michael Knowles is reacting to something, I'd be more interested in sitting at an event at a table kind of in the back where we could whisper things back and forth because I think we would have a similar sense of humor. But he was talking about the monologue where, as you pointed out, he is talking about a family member who has Down syndrome, which I have seen him on multiple reels and stuff as he comes up in my timeline. He talks about this as part of his stand-up. He didn't decide to go in on this topic on SNL. SNL knows that this is what he talks about when he normally does stand-up, and he was there. So it's not like he got on Saturday Night Live as a host and then all of a sudden brought this one out, and they're like, whoa, what are you doing? They should have known. This is what Michael Knowles tweeted about this, and I just can't. I want to find Michael Knowles and high-five him for this. Conservatives will sometimes make jokes about mentally retarded people, but then also celebrate them and defend their right to life. While liberals won't even say the word retarded for fear of offending the people they advocate exterminating in the womb.
It's a bold statement.
I'd go to break. Because what I just said there to the activist left, the most offensive thing in that sentence is the fact that Michael Knowles typed out the word retarded. And I understand why people don't like that word. I do not use that word. If my kids said it, I would correct them and say, don't say that word. Because I understand the musical application of that word. I understand that there is a medical application of that word. And society has taken that word and turned it into a pejorative that I just don't like. So if I have control around a certain space of which I just referred to, me or my children, I will control that space. I can't control what another person says. I can choose to relate with them or to them or not. But the word exists. And in comedy, it's almost, is it safe to say that the R word and the N word socially have been put somewhere, maybe not in the same box, but in the same cabinet where the boxes are stored?
Yeah, they're stored in the same cabinet.
Yeah, they're off limits.
I hear the other word in comedy all the time.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't think it's outrageous to think that you're going to, but honestly, let me ask you this question. Which word do you hear used more often in comedy? Don't say the word.
Yeah, the N word.
With much more frequency than what Shane Gillis was saying. The left's aggressive battle with how you talk isn't actually about the word itself. It's about the power that having control over vocabulary is consolidated on one side against another side. And it supersedes the idea that there are European countries, and I'm sure countries other places, but Europe is usually where these stories are told the most in my experience. There are European countries, and there is a state that I live in that will willfully allow you to find out that your baby has Down syndrome, and you can just kill it. The idea that that child that has Down syndrome, and if you listen to what Shane Gillis says, he goes, these are the happiest people you'll ever meet in your life. And if you know someone who has Down syndrome, you know that while they aren't the same as people who don't have Down syndrome, they are blessings, and those blessings abound with every single person they come into contact with. There is only one political party that advocates for the discovery that that is the condition that exists with the child being carried in a womb that is reason to kill that baby. And for Michael Knowles to point out that liberals won't even say the word retarded for fear of offending the people they advocate exterminating in the womb, I mean, that just swoops down and hits me hard because it is so on the point true. If it were up to me, if Shane Gillis called me and was like, hey, I'm going to say the R word, you can tell me not to and I won't do it. Would I tell him not to? I would tell him, I feel uncomfortable when I hear that word. I don't like to hear that word. I don't want to really be around that word when it's used as a way to joke about people. And then I would let him do whatever it is that he's going to do, because that's the way this country works. You get to speak for yourself, and I get to hear that word and judge the choice to implement that word. If I'm listening to music and there are, the other word is involved in it, I can choose to be around that word, or I can choose to not be around that word. But I'm not like calling up the artist going, this is absolutely offensive and you need to stop this right now. But I do get to make my choice. Because to me, those are words. When a political movement wants to take those words and use them to destroy people, to cancel people, to take power over those people, and in the meantime, that power allows them to do things like the state of Illinois, what they have done with abortion rights. They want to be the destination in the Midwest, if not the country, for abortion. How upside down is it to like pull your hair out over a word when you look at what they're willing to justify? What's the phrase? What's the line you always say? Something about booze and I know what makes you.
Oh, yeah. I know what makes you cheer. Your booze mean nothing to me. I've seen what makes you cheer.
Yeah. That's where I am on it.
Yeah. I really like it's almost like the subject matter and the word aside and words aside. I really like when anybody, and this usually is the role of comedy, is willing to do something publicly that's just sort of going into territory that everybody said is off limits. You can't do that. It's sacrosanct. They bring out these Fabergé eggs every now and then, and they have gloves and they hold them up and they go, look at this thing. You cannot, you can only participate in this thing and touch it in the ways that I say. And they set it back down. And a comedian comes along and just says, what would it be like if I got my fingerprints on that a little bit? I really like that. And we need more of that. And to see it on Saturday Night Live is good because that's an American institution that he's going around kind of poking the bear on, and we need more of that.
Yeah, but to Annie's point, the whole thing about this is that to the leftists, when you look at this topic and the way Michael Knowles laid it out, to the leftists, it's more important to sound virtuous than to actually be virtuous. You know, it's more important to them that you know that I don't use the R word. I don't particularly like them because I want them exterminated in the womb, but I don't use that word. That's horrible.
It's a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel on Facebook says, FYI, mental retardation is not a medical diagnosis anymore and not in the DSM-V manual for over a decade now. It should not be used and is absolutely in line with the N-word. Just to clarify my words in case that is needed, I think what I said was that I understand how it has been used in the medical community. So I don't think I said that it was a medical diagnosis, but I think Rachel makes a very good point, and I want to make sure that it gets included in the show here so we can be factual. See, this segment started with us wondering if moles dig for worms.
That's what's great about the 2 o'clock hour.